Hi, we're Cliff and Andrea Riley, and we're the marriage service technicians. Today, we're going to discuss a little bit about our program.
Okay. So our signature program is UNLOAD, and that's an acronym for Unity Negotiated Through Listening to Overcome Adversities and Disputes. So here are the goals of UNLOAD. Number one, seek first to understand and then to be understood. Now that's our quote by Stephen Covey that we use all the time, because it's more important for us to, we already know what we think, we already know what we feel, we already know our own perspective. So if we really try to emphasize to have couples to listen to the other person to understand their perspective, even if you don't agree with their perspective, understanding another person's perspective really opens up the lines of communication, and then it makes people feel heard, it makes them feel valued. And then sometimes it's easier to come to a win-win solution when we've taken both sides and both perspectives into consideration.
Yes, and that leads to us the unity part.
Mm-hmm.
The next one is to allow couples to share what's on their hearts and in a neutral environment.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, our goal is to create a safe space
Right.
so the couples could be able to share, because sharing is part of the process, the healing process or the restoration process.
Exactly. Open and honest communication is the next goal. Um, Proverbs 27:5 says, "Open rebuke is better than secret love." So sometimes we don't express certain things because we know if I say this, then that's going to happen, and then and they're going to say that, and then because we kind of know the cycles that we've fallen into, and sometimes we don't feel that we can really be honest. So we try to lay out an environment where people can be open, they can be honest, and they can know that if I open up and I share what I really feel, that we're going to help keep that balance. We're going to help be that neutral party. We're going to help bridge that gap in the communication process.
Yes. The next step is we assist in bridging any communication gaps by offering insight to help resolve disputes. In other words, uh, being there while the couples are communicating, anything that's being negative or we see where people are stuck in communicating, we're there to help them be able to communicate what's really on their hearts and what they're trying to say to close those communication gaps before they came to us.
Right. And remembering that during the process of communicating, even if something is might be painful, it might hurt, it might be hard to hear, but we always bring you back full circle to understand that bearing with the process is what's going to lead to the healing. So sometimes things hurt in between. Sometimes people need surgery, and surgery can hurt.
Yes.
Surgery will hurt. But the goal of the surgery is not to inflict pain. The goal of the surgery is to bring about healing. So that's just a painful step on the way to healing. So we always make sure that everyone understands that there's a purpose, that there is pain, if there is hurt, which there probably will be. Because if it wasn't hurtful things going on within the communication, more than likely people would not be sitting in front of us.
Correct.
So we just bring everyone full circle and just show how this can bring forth healing. And then often we interject things that we have gone through that's been similar and show how, okay, this is how we made it through this process, and this is where we wound up. This is where we landed, to help people to understand that the pain is not the end.
Yes. And that's the key word, understanding. Just like the first one, seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Right.
And help bridging that communication gap and help resolve disputes if we could just get couples just to understand of the other person's perspective and what's on their hearts.
And of course, we give tools that will aid in the communication process because as we observe, obviously, we observe the communication, then we realize, oh, okay, so this is a tool that we can see would be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So let's practice the tool right here in front of us so that when you leave us, you'll understand how to use those tools.
Yes.
And that they do work. Okay, and then we have some ground rules, and we call those, we call them the U.N.L.O.A.D ground rules. So we lay them out in the beginning, and we know nobody's going to remember everything, but because we lay it out in the beginning, then when we see people deviating from it, we can say, okay, remember that, remember the rule, and we're able to bring people back in and refer to the rule and be able to keep things back on course. So some of them are like no mean-spirited comments. It's one thing to say things that might be painful, but there's another thing to say things in a way to inflict pain, out of resentment or just I'm going tit for tat. You hurt me, I'm just going to hurt you back, or out of manipulations. So we don't. When we detect that, then that's something that we're going to call a flag on the play.
Yes, and that leads to the next step, or the next rule, is to attack the issue and not each other.
Exactly.
And that's one of the things that we try to help them to understand, that you have each other, but the issue might be right here. Well, we don't want you attacking each other.
Right. Like if I see you as my issue, or you see me as an issue, so now we're trying to. So I'm going to attack this because this is what's wrong. This is the problem, versus a couple realizing that we're one.
Yes.
We're a couple. We're for each other. That's the issue. Let us as a team attack the issue. Not attacking the issue, but no, attack the issue. And then so that makes all the difference in the world, just that change in perspective.
Right, and you're so right, because when you attack each other, the issue get lost in the sauce, and it's still there. And so by the time you get finished attacking each other, the issue is still there, and it's going to continue to come back up.
And be here now, that's one of them. So we ask everyone to commit. When you're here, when you're in the presence of a conversation, listening, not zoning out, no electronics, no, it's listening and actually hearing. Again, that makes the other person feel valued, and oftentimes just someone feeling like, okay, my opinion was finally heard. I wasn't attacked for it. I was able to get the whole thing out. And then that can lead to someone saying, okay, well, now I can listen to yours, even though I know mine hurt you. So I can just listen now. I can pull myself in. So just being present is so important.
Yes. Now, honey, you're really good at explaining this one, but I'm going to make an attempt in it.
Okay.
There's another one in terms of how we speak our language, in terms of it makes me feel versus you think or you act like, etc. I mean, how many times we make those comments, trying to tell the other person what they thinking or what they feeling. Now me, I mean, if my wife and I are discussing something, I know what I'm feeling and I know what I'm thinking. And she can't change that.
Right. I can't argue with that.
Right.
If something made you feel a certain way, even if I didn't mean it, if that wasn't my intent, you have a right to express, well, when you said this, it made me feel this is how I felt. Well, I can argue that that wasn't what I meant to do. That wasn't why I said it. I might be able to debate that, but I can't debate how it made you feel. So we redirect couples to express, well, when you do this or when you don't do this, it makes I feel this way, that way, and the other way. So it's not like you made me feel So we're not pointing the finger, we're just expressing what's in our hearts.
Right.
And that makes all the difference.
Yes. And we all hate when somebody try to tell us what we think or feel.
So we also have a rule that you avoid definitive comments such as you never or you always or every single time. Because, first of all, that's an exaggeration and it's rarely ever, I don't know if I've ever seen a time when it was true, that every single time. So even if it was 99 times out of 100. So what happens is when you say, every time you walk in the door, you throw your shoes right there and I trip over them or whatever that thing is, that you do it every single time. Well, if the person could think of one time when they didn't do it, so now your whole argument is disputed now. Your whole argument is invalid because you said every single time and it didn't happen every single time. So now that cancels out everything you said. So so it's rarely ever you never listen to me. Well, maybe they don't listen to you all the time, but to say they never, they can say, well, I listened to you on such and such a day when you talked about this, and it cancels everything out. So we just try to avoid those definitive exaggerations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it infuriates people when you say that and they're like, no, that's not even. No, I did do it. I did do it. What are you talking about? Now the debate becomes over the one time I did do it versus all the times when you didn't do it and what the real issue is.
Right. And it don't help us see any good the other person have done when we make statements like that. The next one is a soft answer turns away wrath, but harsh words stirs up anger. And that's in the word. That's in Proverbs 15 verse 15, chapter 15 verse 1. And that's the word. And part of communications, when that a soft answer does make a difference. And harsh words does stir up anger in a person. And so what we try to help couples and how we communicate, you know, even if it's the truth, it's how you present the truth. Because what is more important? Is it important for the person to receive what you say, or is it more important that you just get out what you have to say, no matter how you say it?
When you want to say it, how you want to say it, and just, I got it out, I just want to say it. Is that more important, or is it more important to be heard?
Yes.
Yeah. So if change, and that's something I had to learn. I had to learn because that was pretty much my MO in my younger life. Yeah, I'm gonna say what I want to say when I want to say. I want to say. I don't care. You don't like it. Oh well. I said it. It's over. But eventually, I realized that's not the most important thing, and I realized that sometimes saying it in a tone that's more acceptable, or more tone that's more palatable, or a tone that's more loving, a tone that's more, me exercising some self-discipline and not just putting out there however I feel it, caused me to be heard.
Yes.
It could be the same exact words sometimes, but just the tone.
Yes, and that is so true, because I can't even tell you how many times when she came to me, even to correct me on something, and how she corrected me in that soft tone, it made me either feel convicted or want to change, because it showed that she really cared. Even though, you know, she was right. But if she had came at me harshly in a way, then that gives me a way to like not to receive it and get angry. So it really works.
Be slow to take offense. So again, we're not having conversations to offend. And if we sense that is if we ever sense it, because we can hear it, when those undertones come, when you're just trying to get somebody back. So we'll call a flag on the play, because that's not the goal. Is that, well, you hurt me, I'm gonna hurt you back. The goal is healing.
Yes. The next rule is be quick to apologize if you offend him or her. You know, the Bible talks about not letting the sun go down on your wrath. And I've learned that. Um, well, as a matter of fact, we both learned that.
Mm-hmm.
That, especially for me as a man, because the pride get in the way, you know, especially when I'm wrong, but to, you know, apologize quickly because of pride and everything. But the thing about it is that when you let that sun go down in your wrath, when you don't be quick to apologize, um, it can you know, you could brew that anger will brew, and then by the time if you do go to apologize, it's questioned if it's genuine or you know or
Right.
you just want something. So I'm going to apologize so I can just get this or have that done. But
Right. And why drag it out?
yeah,
Why drag out a person? If I hurt you, whether I meant to or not, why drag it out and why go hours where our relationship is now being affected? Where I could have just humbled myself and apologized and got it over with and go on the rest of the day. That's hours of your life that you really can't get back.
yes. And then
Oh,
I'm sorry.
no problem. Aim to understand your partner's point of view. Again, seek first to understand and then to be understood. So that's where it's good. That's why to me it's excellent that we have two of us, because you hear a man and a woman's perspective. So sometimes one of us can chime in and kind of round out and help explain that perspective. Where if it was just one person, obviously they're going to be a male or a female. They're not going to be both. So that's one of the advantages of coming to a couple. So whenever we do counsel couples, we do it as a couple.
Yes. And the next rule, be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Now that's in the word as well in James 1:19. And the reason why we bring up the word a lot because there are certain principles in the word that works. They are in the land, and we work these principles. They work, and so the more you listen and be slow to speak, in other words, that you're only listening so you can get out what you want to say, but if you be slow to listen, really listen, then you can start to understand how the other person feels or even what they're saying. But when you want to listen, you know, just listen so you can have your point ready or what you want to say to rebuttal what that person says, then that's what we don't want to do. And you definitely want to be slow to become angry. You know, over the years, listening to my wife, even when she's trying to convey something to me, I've learned, and I'm still learning, to be slow to listen.
No, quick to listen.
I mean, quick to listen. I'm
slow
sorry.
To speak, slow to become angry.
But quick, I'm sorry, quick to listen is because it really helps me to start to see what she is saying. And I'll be honest with you, 9 times out of 10, it helped me in a lot of situations. Things that when I used to be so quick to give an answer or whatever, being quick to listen to her, and I'm still working on it.
Mm-hmm. But that's a good point, because and so what we tend to try to do when we see people with those quick answers, we really go and investigate. Okay, what's behind that? What's the defensiveness? Why is it that you can't hear the full statement before you feel like you have to give a response? Let's deal with that. So yeah, again, we'll call a flag on the play when we need to.
Yes.
And then we also practice having couples jot down their questions and their comment while the other one is speaking. Because sometimes when if a person says something and part of it you disagree with, you're like, oh no, that's not the way it happened, or they forgot a pertinent fact. And then you're trying to remember, okay, I want to make sure I say this. So sometimes like we just trying, I don't want to forget. And it can almost be like you can not hear the rest of the statement because you're too busy trying not to forget the last thing that they said that you wanted to answer. So we just jot it down.
Yeah.
The way you have to do when you're in school. You don't, every time, sometimes you got to hold those questions till the end or until the teacher finishes a certain portion. So being able to learn the discipline of doing that as well, jotting down, so when it's your turn to speak, you have your notes. You don't have to try to remember. You don't have to block out what they're saying so that you don't forget. So just jot those things down. So those are some of the tools that we.
Can I say something on that last part?
Absolutely.
Now, even though it's part of the rules, we really don't make you do it, enforce it, but we strongly recommend and encourage you to do it.
I'm going to enforce it. I tell you right now, he may not enforce it. I'm going to. No, I'm just kidding. But it's a tool.
It's wisdom.
It's a tool
that
is helpful.
Yes.
It really is. Okay. So that's basically most of it. We have a few other things that you schedule an appointment. We're actually, when you're here, we have if necessary, we have cards, like the speak card for if we see couples tend to interrupt each other. We have tools like that to say, okay, well, while I'm holding this card, you can't interrupt me. But then, so it's certain things that we'll do when we need it, but those are the general rules for Unload, and that's how we conduct things.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
So there's nothing left to do but schedule your appointment.